Oh yeah, it's happening. Welcome to That's Good Sports. I'm Brandon. Washington was the case. They traded me Perna. Huge news breaking out of Colorado today. Per Adam Schefter, first cousins can legally get married in the state of Colorado. This Utah couple came all the way to Colorado to get married because not even fucking Utah thought this was a good idea. No wonder we legalized weed here in Colorado. It's so we could forget we, not the South, lead the country in inbreeding. What does that have to do with Case Keenum being traded, you might ask? Do I need to spell it out to you? Do I need to spell out the most incestuous QB trade circle of all time? Oh, yeah, actually you do need to spell it out for us. Okay, Alex Smith was traded to Washington to replace Kirk Cousins, who the Broncos wanted, like true Coloradans, but Cousins landed in Minnesota to replace Case Keenum, who went to Denver to replace Trevor Siemian, who went to Minnesota to play behind Cousins. Well, you should have stayed in Denver, Siemian, where playing behind a cousin will eventually get you a free wedding paid for by your aunt and uncle. At this point, the biggest upside to Joe Flacco is he's not related to any of these other quarterbacks. So I'll break down the Case Keenum trade to Washington and what it means for the Broncos and the potatoes. But marrying your first cousin does give me some ideas. Just like Cletus from The Simpsons, I've always had my eye on cousin Brandine. Her personality and rich bloodline make up for her looks. Let's get sports. Yeah, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. You don't have to, but you can. This episode is sponsored by Manscaped.
Aerospace engineers got bored after they conquered outer space, so they decided to focus their brain power in a more important direction. Designing skin-safe technology that makes manscaping easy for everyone. From the lawnmower to the plow to the new out-of-this-world crop mop ball wipes, the universe is vast, which means there's probably alien life forms out there somewhere. Use Manscaped ball wipes so the alien life forms don't grow below the belt. They're also handy for polishing your space helmet. Like the parts on a spaceship, the ceramic blade on the Manscaped Lawnmower 2.0 is easily replaceable. If Tom Hanks can fix Apollo 13 without gravity, you can swap parts on your pube mower. Men, if you want to be cleared for liftoff, keep it trim and keep it fresh down there with Crop Mop Ball Wipes. Save 20% with promo code SPORT20 or my link in the description for your manscaping kit today.
Lord Elway has bestowed a most undesirable fate to quarterback Case Keenum.
Keenum,
sending the poor armed sellsword to the realm of the Washington potatoes, where his punishment shall be donning the color maroon for the buffoon Daniel Snyder, praying to the old gods and the new that his limbs aren't crushed in battles like the sellswords before him. Yes, I am excited after the new Game of Thrones trailer dropped yesterday. And yes, I am excited the Broncos created some serious cap space by trading Case Keenum to Washington. Now, based on a series of cascading tweets from Sir Ian Rappaport, okay, I'll fucking stop, I promise. But based on his tweets, the Broncos reached a trade agreement with Washington this afternoon, sending Case Keenum to DC in exchange for swapping a 2026th and 7th round set of picks, with Washington agreeing to pay $3.5 million of Case Keenum's 2019 $7 million salary. Based on the price tag, Keenum was Washington's top QB prospect in free agency, which I understand, because based on what I can afford, a 65-inch 4K Insignia or Dynex TV is my top prospect when I go shopping for one this spring. Denver will pay Case Keenum a $500,000 restructure bonus in addition to $3.5 million of his $7 million salary. What that means is the Broncos paid Case Keenum $500,000 to make $7 million and not play in Denver instead of the $21 million he was supposed to get paid for playing in Denver. Which makes me wonder if Case Keenum has any clue how math works or how shitty playing for Washington will be. Do you know what happened to the last quarterbacks who played in Washington, Keenum? They broke their fucking legs. One of them is lucky he can even walk. I won't mention Joe Theismann or RG3. You should have told John Elway you'd be Flacco's backup for $3.5 million here in Denver, and I'm not even kidding. I like Case Keenum. I don't want to hold it against him that he didn't live up to expectations in Denver. I would never dishonor him by trading him to the potatoes like that. This move in total gives Denver back basically all of the money Joe Flacco's contract will take up in cap space. They went from having just $15 million to play with back to $36 or $37 million for free agency spending. I am impressed Elway was able to dump part of Keenum's salary onto Washington and upgrade a 2020 7th round draft pick into a 6th round draft pick. And as we know, 6th round draft picks are important. Have you ever heard that Terrell Davis or Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round? I bet you didn't know that shit. So expect the Broncos to draft a running back as slow as Tom Brady, who gets migraines like Terrell Davis and fumbles if the balls are slightly overinflated in 2020. He sounds horrible, and he will be. In fact, he will be labeled as the biggest draft bust ever, even though he was selected in the 6th round. But he'll redeem himself. He will become Denver's savior as he carries the ball across the goal line for a victory in Super Bowl 56. 1 carry for 8 yards and a touchdown. That's that guy's legacy. Case Keenum? Oh yeah, Case Keenum going to Washington is probably bad news for Josh Johnson, the only Washington quarterback to finish the season with all of his bones in the places a human body naturally prefers. There have been talks of signing Josh Johnson, and Washington still might do that to keep him around to back up Case Keenum with Colt McCoy in the mix somewhere, or having Keenum to back up Josh Johnson, with McCoy still in the mix somewhere. No matter the order, Colt McCoy will never be called the starter. If I had my way, I'd let Josh Johnson go back to the AAF, where he was drafted by the Fleet so he could carry the Fleet to the championship. Now this move actually has kind of big NFL implications. The sexy team for the rumor mill right now is the Arizona Cardinals, making them the first time the word sexy and Arizona Cardinals have been used in the same sentence since Kurt Warner was there. Not because he was good, but just look at the guy. Now they have been linked to trading Josh Rosen to Washington or to the Broncos so they could go ahead and draft Kyler Murray with the #1 pick. Sending Keenum to Washington would seem like it could foil those plans. But they're only on the hook to pay Keenum $3.5 million this year, and if they traded for Josh Rosen, they would only have to pay him his roster bonus and his base salary this year, which is just around $1.2 million. Basically nothing in football terms for a quarterback, even when you factor in the $20 million they have to pay Alex Smith. Oh shit, I forgot about that. That really sucks. Looks like Alex Smith is the real winner here. Now if you want to put on your tinfoil conspiracy hats, dig this. I say dig this now. Charlie Casserly said some pretty shitty things about Kyler Murray and how he handled the interviews at the Combine. Jay Gruden is friends with Charlie Casserly, and many think Gruden fed Casserly those rumors to devalue Murray so he will fall in the draft to Washington at 15, or maybe Jay was doing it so his brother Jon Gruden can nab Murray at number 4 with the Raiders. If brothers could get married, Jon and Jay would probably be the first to move to Colorado. But after watching Kyler Murray handle his interview on the Dan Patrick Show, is it a stretch to believe what Casserly said about him? That he's not good in interviews? Also, is it a stretch to believe that Dan Patrick was upset about the shitty interview, and that's why he peddled the rumors that Kyler Murray somehow cheated his height measurements at the Combine, and that he really isn't 5'10" and 1/8 inches because he was wearing fake feet to give him extra inches? Fake feet for inches is a disgrace to the entire metric system. Last season with the Broncos, Case Keenum threw 18 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. Alex Smith had a touchdown to interception ratio of 10-5, Colt McCoy 3-3, Josh Johnson 3-4, and most impressively, Mark Sanchez was 0-3. 0 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and somehow that's not as embarrassing as the butt fumble, which when added up gives you 16 touchdowns and 15 interceptions, which means Case Keenum is exactly 2 touchdown passes better than a combined Alex Smith, a QB cut by the Browns, an AAF quarterback, and Mark Sanchez. All in all, I guess they're getting an upgrade in the capital with Keenum. Now, I can admit when I'm wrong, and if we take a look at my evaluation of Case Keenum back in August, I was wrong about who I thought he could become. After a weakish or so of training camp, it's fair for us to say that Case Keenum is a fucking god. Or a godsend. Or a godsmack. I don't know which is best, but in 5 practices, 2 padded like a maxi, Case Keenum has thrown 80 touchdowns, 500 completions, and only 1 incompletion. But even then, Keenum overthrew his receiver in the red zone and hit a sexist fan in the face with the football to shut him up. So in my book, that's a completion. Seeing him command the offense like a commander, a master and commander, and then throw the ball where he wants the ball to go is forcing me to overreact like a 13-year-old girl who just got her first iPhone. Yay! Oh my god, I can't believe you got me an iPhone! Oh, I'm gonna take so many selfies and text mean things to the girls I hate! I can't believe I said such definitive things about Keenum in training camp. In all seriousness, though, Keenum deserves a shot in Washington. And who knows, he might even play better with Jay Gruden at the helm. No way it's worse than playing for a Vance Joseph coach team. And even if Vance Joseph was alright, how could Keenum succeed in an offense where the number 1 wide receiver gets traded, the number 2 tears his Achilles, and the top 3 tight ends died in a fiery plane crash? If Washington had more than $5 to $12 million in cap space, I'd say they could still make some QB moves, but Josh Johnson may be the only guy left that they can actually afford. Denver is now back in play to make 2 splash free agency signings, and each day that passes, I warm up to Joe Flacco. How can you not when you see that face of his pinned to the ceiling of your bedroom wall every night?
Case Keenum, I'm sorry.
Cousin Joe. Good luck, Case Keenum. If I were a comedian in the 80s, I might have written a joke like this. Utah, if you didn't know, is the only state where you can have multiple wives. They also only sell 3-2 beer, which doesn't make any sense to me because the number 1 reason you would need a strong drink is having multiple wives.